You weren't just another relationship to them. You were their emotional home base, the one person who made their nervous system feel safe and regulated in ways they can't replicate anywhere else. While they can find other people to date, hook up with, or even have relationships with, they'll never find another you. You provided something so psychologically essential that they'll keep circling back to you like a planet orbiting the sun, unable to break free from your gravitational pull. You became their emotional regulation system. Your presence literally changed their brain chemistry and nervous system functioning in ways that made them feel calmer, more grounded and more emotionally stable than they'd ever felt before. Being around you wasn't just enjoyable, it was therapeutic. You unknowingly became their external emotional regulation system, helping them access emotional states they couldn't achieve on their own. This neurological dependence on your energy means that every other relationship feels jarring and destabilizing by comparison. Other people's energy doesn't soothe their hypervigilant nervous system the way yours did. Without your regulating presence, they feel anxious, disconnected, and emotionally chaotic in ways they never experienced when you were part of their daily life. They'll keep coming back because they're essentially addicted to how their body and brain feel around you. It's not just that they miss you emotionally. They miss the version of themselves that could only exist in your presence. You were their emotional safe harbor, and now they're lost at sea. You accepted their authentic self without conditions. Unlike everyone else who loves their potential, their success, or their performance, you loved their actual authentic self, including all the broken, wounded, difficult parts they usually hide from the world. You saw their flaws, understood their damage, and chose to love them anyway without requiring them to be different or better. This unconditional acceptance created psychological safety they'd never experienced before and will never find again. You didn't try to fix them, change them, or improve them. You just loved them exactly as they were, which allowed them to relax their exhausting performance of being perfect and just exist naturally. They'll always come back because you're the only person who ever made them feel lovable in their natural state. Everyone else loves who they pretend to be, but you loved who they actually are underneath all their defenses and adaptations. You understood their psychology without judgment. You had an intuitive understanding of their avoidant patterns that felt almost psychic to them. You could read their moods, predict their needs, and respond to their emotional states without them having to explain or justify their behavior. This level of being understood felt miraculous to someone used to being misunderstood or judged. Your understanding came without criticism or attempts to pathologize their patterns. You saw their avoidance as protective rather than problematic, their distance as necessary rather than cruel, their independence as strength rather than fear. This non-judgmental understanding made them feel seen and accepted in ways they'd never experienced. They'll return because finding someone else who understands avoidant psychology with your level of intuitive insight is nearly impossible. Most people either take their patterns personally or try to fix them, but you just understood and accepted them as necessary parts of who they are. You provided intimacy without pressure. You mastered the art of being deeply intimate with them without creating the pressure or obligation that usually comes with closeness. You could share profound moments, have meaningful conversations, and create genuine connection, while still allowing them to maintain their sense of autonomy and independence. This pressure-free intimacy was psychologically perfect for their attachment style because it satisfied their need for deep connection while respecting their need for emotional safety and control. You never made them feel trapped, suffocated, or obligated to reciprocate more intimacy than they could comfortably provide. They'll keep coming back because you're the only person who ever figured out how to love them intimately without triggering their claustrophobia or flight responses. You created the perfect balance of closeness and space that their psychology requires. You were their safe space for vulnerability. With you, they could let their guard down and show vulnerability in ways they couldn't with anyone else. You created an environment where being authentic felt safe rather than dangerous, where sharing feelings felt natural rather than terrifying, where weakness could exist without fear of exploitation or judgment. This safe vulnerability was transformative for someone whose entire identity had been built around emotional invulnerability. You gave them a place where they didn't have to be strong, independent, or emotionally controlled all the time. They could just be human with all the messiness that entails. They'll return because you're the only person who ever made vulnerability feel safe instead of threatening. Everyone else makes them feel like they need to maintain their emotional armor, but you were the place where that armor could come off. You matched their unique communication style. You learned to communicate with them in ways that felt natural and comfortable, rather than forcing them to adapt to more conventional relationship communication patterns. You understood that they expressed love through actions more than words, that they needed space to process emotions, and that their way of showing care might look different from typical romantic expression. This communication compatibility made every interaction feel effortless rather than exhausting. They didn't have to translate their thoughts and feelings into more palatable forms or struggle to understand your needs through emotional languages they didn't speak fluently. They'll keep coming back, because communicating with you felt like speaking their native language while everyone else feels like struggling through foreign conversation. The ease and naturalness of how you two connected is irreplaceable. You became their reference point for what love should feel like. Your love set the standard for how relationships should feel: safe, understanding, accepting, and nurturing without being overwhelming or controlling. Every other connection they attempt feels inadequate because it lacks the specific qualities that made your love feel perfect for their psychology. This reference point becomes their measuring stick for all future relationships, and everyone else falls short because they're looking for someone who loves like you loved, but understands them like you understood them. You spoiled them for ordinary love by showing them what extraordinary love felt like. They'll always return because you became their template for what they actually want in a relationship, and no one else will ever match the standard you set for understanding, acceptance, and perfect psychological compatibility. You were their addiction disguised as independence. While they convinced themselves they were maintaining independence, they were actually developing a profound psychological dependence on your specific energy, understanding, and way of loving them. You became essential to their emotional well-being while allowing them to maintain their illusion of self-sufficiency. This hidden addiction means that life without you feels fundamentally wrong even when they're functioning well in other areas. You weren't just a nice addition to their life, you became necessary for their optimal psychological functioning. The inevitable return pattern. They may leave, they may try to replace you, they may convince themselves they're better off without the complications of genuine love, but they'll always come back because you provided something their psychology needs that they can't find anywhere else. You weren't just their girlfriend or partner, you were their psychological home, and homeless people always return to the place where they felt most comfortable and safe. You'll always be the comfort zone they return to when the world feels too harsh or lonely to navigate alone.